Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hi friends, welcome to my video column, and today we are going to discuss about the northeastern state of Nagaland. As we are all aware that since 1950s, Nagaland has suffered a lot of insurgency and a lot of lives have been lost. But now we are on the brink of signing a peace accord. However, the situation is changing quite dynamically in this northeastern state, and we are going to try and take a look at some of the latest developments. So the issue of insurgency in Nagaland is quite complex. It's quite old also. It started in 1950s, and over the year, National Socialist Council of Nagaland, Isak-Muivah faction. So it's known as NSCN IM. So it projected itself as the lone voice of Naga people, and then over a period of time, the negotiations also happened largely with NSCN IM. But after Narendra Modi government took over in 2014, there was an important development. The government appointed a former IAS officer, Arun Ravi, as representative of the government of India, or you may call him an interlocutor, and then he started having negotiations with the NSCN IM. And then in October 2019, they had almost reached at a you can say at an understanding, and the issue was almost resolved, but then it again got delayed. Earlier also, since 1950s, especially during Lal Bahadur Shastri era, then Indira Gandhi tried to resolve it. So almost all the prime ministers have tried to resolve this issue, but NSCN IM has somehow been at every time the issue is on the verge of getting resolved, so they back out, or the talks break down. Now a couple of important things have happened over the last 6 years or so. So when, as I mentioned earlier, when Narendra Modi government came, the first important thing which they did was that they stopped having talks with the NSCN IM leaders outside India. Earlier, all the talks used to be held outside India. So this was one important thing. Second is that NSCN IM earlier used to insist that because it is having an independent government, so its head of the government or its prime minister would only have a chat with the Prime Minister of India. So second important shift which happened during Modi's regime was that the NSCN IM was told that it had to negotiate with the representative of the government of India. Now, as I said that in October 2019, the issue was on the verge of getting resolved, and an agreement was also signed. But again, it has been stalled by NSCN IM. So over the last few months, what has happened in Nagaland? Because most of us who do not track northeastern India, so we generally remain unaware of what has happened there. So some very rapid developments have happened there, and I would share with you the outcome of them and how we are going to look in terms of way forward as far as the peace process in Nagaland is concerned. So quickly, one, the talks have hit a roadblock because NSCN IM has suddenly not only backed out of the talks, but it also it insisted on getting Arun Ravi removed as the representative of the government of India. They say that they do not want Ravi as an interlocutor. And why they are saying this? Why this belligerent attitude? There are two reasons. One is that Arun Ravi, he was appointed governor of Nagaland in July 2019. So he has done a couple of things. One, the NSCN IM, they used to have town command in every district of the state, from where they used to extort money in the name of levying taxes over everything. And then he also appointed a special investigation team which would probe all such illegal activities by NSCN IM cadres or leaders or any other person in Nagaland who has been extorting money in the name of Naga independence. So this rattled NSCN-IM because it had never been challenged like this before. It was having a freedom, and also it almost strangulated the financial backbone of NSCN-IM, the funding of NSCN-IM, which was primarily coming from this extortion money, what they call levying of taxes. The other reason, and which is even more important reason, is that NSCN-IM is now actually increasingly feeling isolated because for the first time, a number of Naga groups, other Naga groups, so they have taken the center stage and they are pushing the central government now to sign the peace deal, even if NSCN-IM doesn't agree with it. And it also indicates that during all these years, probably the reach and the impact of NSCN-IM on Naga society was overestimated. Now, I would quote from a couple of statements which has been given by a very important organization of Nagaland, and it's called Nagaland NGBF, Nagaland Gaon Buda Federation, and it's basically a body of all the village chieftains or of all the uh, uh, senior most people who are heading these villages in Nagaland. So virtually, it is the actually most influential body of Nagaland, and the whatever directive is issued by Nagaland Gaon Buda Federation. So that is followed in both letter and spirit in all the villages of Nagaland, and it is also one of the oldest and one of the most respected bodies in Nagaland. So, what does it say? On 28th of August, the Federation had issued a statement which said there is a perpetual tendency within the NSCN-IM leadership to brand Naga leaders, tribes, organizations, other civil societies as anti-Nagas and traitors for not knowing their political ideology. Then it further adds, this is a mockery of Nagaland. God-fearing leaders should not insist their words and actions are final in the Naga context. The people's voice and will is final. NGPF is opposed to any diktat that stifles people's sentiments. And the Federation again issued another statement on September 8th after having a meeting with NSCN-IM General Secretary Muivah. And what does the statement say on September 8th? The position of NGBF remains unchanged, and final peace accord should be signed as per the 31st October 2019 understanding arrived at between Government of India and two Naga negotiating groups. So these Naga negotiating groups are NSCN-IM and NNPG. Now, NNPG is actually a group of 7 Naga outfits and organizations that, along with NSCN-IM, were involved in talks with the center. And the NNPG, they are also in favor of signing the peace accord. Whereas the NSCN-IM is stalling the process, and just it has picked up a couple of issues. For example, as I said, a removal of RN Ravi, because he is the person who is actually ensuring that their writ doesn't run large in Nagaland, and people are actually feeling, as the ground reports indicate, that people are feeling quite relieved. They are having a lot of relief from extortion, and especially the business community, the common people also. So over now, going ahead, it seems that the center right now, I have spoken to a few senior functionaries in the government also and with officials also. They have talked to me off the record, so I cannot name them. However, the sense which I got was that the center is assessing the situation. The Prime Minister office and the National Security Advisor, they are directly monitoring the situation, and they are looking at things quite positively. They feel that the government has a sense that there is a groundswell of support in Nagaland to sign the peace accord, and NSCN-IM is feeling isolated. However, the government still wants to take everybody on board so that the peace accord, once it is signed, is sustainable. And even if NSCN IM is a bit reluctant right now, so they are still hopeful that it can come on board, especially realizing that except NSCN IM, rest almost every Naga body or group which matters. So they are in favor of peace accord, and also that peace accord needs to be signed within the framework of the Constitution of India. So the question of separate flag or separate constitution has also been almost like put to rest. This is another demand of NSC and IM, but the observers who have been tracking the Naga peace process, so they feel that it's just a ploy to delay the talks, because NSC and IM realizes that once the peace accord is signed with all the stakeholders, so it does not remain the sole voice of the self-proclaimed sole voice of Nagaland, and the government is hopeful. The Naga groups except NSC and IM, so they are also very positive. So we can hope to see the closure of this long pending peace process in near future.